Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Journey Cast. My name is Levi.
I'm Alicia.
And today we have with us Simon Tracey from River Valley Community Church.
Correct. Yep.
Hi, Simon.
You're the youth pastor there, among other things.
Among other things, yes. My job title is quite long.
Oh, yeah.
Your church title is funny to me, though, still.
What is it?
Well, no, like not professionally, like the name of the church itself.
Oh, yes.
Because of Aaron. Aaron calls it Christ the River King.
Yeah.
And
I call it that.
Well, no, Aaron
he does
started
too?
at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I can't get that out of my head.
Yeah, because it was
It's
Christ
so
the King
funny.
Church in River Valley.
River Park.
River Park.
Yeah.
Gosh,
And
I
they
wanna
came
get it.
together.
So, yeah, I called it,
Christ the River
Christ
King.
the River King Church.
Yeah, once he said that once, and I'm like, because he's like, I can never get the name of it right.
Now you can't get it out of your head.
Now we're all like,
Have you accidentally called the church
no,
that at all?
I've
Okay.
been lucky that I've not said that about our church.
But
yeah.
I have for sure told people that, but I've corrected myself because I've caught it. I'm like, oh, Simon works at Christ the River. No.
No.
River Valley.
River Valley
Community Church.
Excellent
Community
church.
Church. Yes.
Excellent church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how'd you end up there?
That's a long story.
Yeah.
We've got an hour.
Yeah, we've got time.
So I was not a believer.
Yeah.
And obviously I have an accent. Mm-hmm. At least to you, I have an accent. And so
We have the accent.
You have the accent.
Yeah.
I speak the King's English,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
And I had come over here in 96 with the British Army and really liked it. I thought this is a really cool place. I'm an Army kid, so I've been around, never really had a home. And thought, oh, this is kind of a neat, even in the winter.
You went
is
to
a neat
the
place.
Suffield base?
Yeah, I was
Yep.
at Suffield. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I had a great 6 months. I went and explored and learned to ski and just did some really good stuff. And I thought, man, this is a really great place. And when I left, the officer in charge said, man, you really took advantage of your time here. I said, yeah, it was great. He said, would you ever come back? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Get me.
So how long were you here the first
6
time?
months.
6 months?
So over winter. And so I went back to my regiment in Germany and we went and did some stuff in Poland. And, we got back from that and I was called up to the office and they said, oh, you're off somewhere. And I opened the envelope and it said Canada, 2 years. And I went, oh, thank you very much. So I came back. So that officer here had requested, they needed a person with my job, and they said, well, this guy liked it and he's good. So get him back. So I came back for 2 years.
What was your role? Are you allowed to talk
Oh
about
yeah,
that?
no, it wasn't. Yeah, no, I was essentially in charge of warehouse supplies, ammunition, that kind of stuff.
Undercover espionage.
AKA a stock taker, really a glorified stock taker. Nothing glamorous.
Yeah.
And in that 2 years, I kind of found some local friends, Canadian friends, and through that met my wife. And decided that when we decided we were going to be together, I thought I don't want to traipse her around army bases in Germany and England. It's and raise a family that way. How I was raised. Not that I didn't have a bad upbringing, but it's very transient. You move around a lot. So I decided to stay. I was going to stay in Canada, and so went through immigration, which is fun. And this is now I'm going to date myself. This is pre the internet immigration. So it was.
So you weren't filling out forms online.
No,
and
you
sending them
literally send out the forms and mail them to wherever, and just wait.
and hope they get there.
And hope they get there.
Yeah.
Well, I believe they were registered, but just wait. And then if you wanted to find out what was going on, you had to call, and they would sometimes answer, and it was really stressful. And so I obviously it worked. I got through it. I was able to work, and I started working for my wife's father, and kind of career there, but still was not a believer. My wife, born and raised in the church, loves Jesus, and it was not something I was interested in.
So you guys were still dating at this?
We were married at this point. We were
Okay.
married at this point. And, we just decided it was something we just weren't going to talk about, right? She had her faith and I had my atheism, and we were quite happy with that. And
So you were like specifically an atheist, or you just
absolutely,
didn't?
I was very much the Richard Dawkins,
Very skeptical of everything.
absolutely on that new atheist, as they're called. I was certainly in that camp, and life was going good. We had a son, and things were going well. And then stuff, my wife started to reconnect with her faith actually here at Hillcrest, and went through some stuff here at Hillcrest and started attending church again. And it started causing some friction in our marriage, right? Because I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. What are you doing that for, right?
But she wants you to come.
And she actually never really pushed it.
Oh, really?
She really didn't. I think she knew that was probably not a good idea. And so I just kind of, and in a process of her becoming, rediscovering her faith and really reconnecting with Jesus and reconnecting with other believers, with Christians, which we all know is so important to be around people. It really started to sort of drive a wedge in our relationship. And it wasn't her doing it. It was just that was causing a divide in our relationship because I was then going against that quite strenuously. Like, what are you doing?
So she's pulling this way, you're pulling this way.
And we were starting to pull apart. It really did cause...
So you say she was reconnecting, so she had kind of stopped going to church for a season or stopped?
Julie loves Jesus and always has.
Yeah.
But church, she'd been hurt in church as a teenager and just was like not interested.
Happens to a lot of people.
Yeah. She's like, I love Jesus, but I don't want to be around Christians, right? I just don't want to be around church. I'm just not interested. But so I always knew that. But coming back at a later stage in life and reconnecting with people, she realized. So what it was doing was it was pulling us apart.
Yeah.
And it was really tough. It was a really tough time for both of us. And during that time, our relationship was bad. It was really, I had moved out. It was bad. It was about as bad as it can get still being married. And one of her best friends was getting married in Lethbridge, and Julie was in the bridal party. And, we know that I know this, love this woman too. And so they said, well, we want you to come to the wedding. Okay. It was in a church. Great. Right. Fantastic. Okay. So I went along, and it's Park Meadows Baptist in Lethbridge.
Is that part of your atheism? Is like going into a church building, even for a wedding, felt like
oh yeah, because it was totally against, it was anathema to everything.
You're like, they're going to try and brainwash me or something.
And it was just everything I didn't believe in. Right. It was just a weird, not that I,
and it's a symbol for something you're like against, right?
100%. It was just like that place. It's full of weirdos, and it's just, and
that's always
it is. Yes.
Which now yes, but weirdos who love
now
Jesus.
You're the
right?
weirdo.
Exactly, right? And so I just thought, man, I just don't want anything to do with this. Like, this is just not but I love Michelle and her husband. So I was like, yes, I will go to their wedding. And they are on the worship team at their church. So it was a wedding that was not really a wedding. It was a worship service.
Oh.
Right? They played.
So even more uncomfortable for you at the time.
Fantastic. Just what I wanted to go to, right? So I'm sitting there really grumpy. This is not where I want to be. They played a worship set. They got married, and then they played more worship. And I'm like, I am out of here as soon as I can. Like, this is just not. And I literally got hit upside the head by Holy Spirit. And it was that.
Like right there in the pew?
Right there in the pew, a full conviction of, which now I can explain. At the time, I was like, it made me so uncomfortable. So I was raised not in a Christian home, but my dad was Catholic, so we would in England back in the 80s, we would have religious education classes at school. Except the Catholics, we were pulled out. We weren't allowed to learn about all the other. We had to go and sit in a little room with a Catholic priest. And that's the genesis of my atheism. Was my friend John and I would just ask this very lovely old elderly priest questions in my provocative 13, 14-year-old. What about this? And essentially being told to just be quiet. Don't ask questions. That's just how it is. Well,
oh no.
You want to shut something down? And it literally did. It shut it down for me. So that's the genesis of that. So now I'm having this encounter with what I could only describe as, it was the Holy Spirit, right? Just convicting me and just,
What were you feeling?
All of the emotions at once: love, shame, anger, fear, pain, joy, everything just, that had literally been bottled up, right? I was a very angry person, super angry person. And just it all, and enveloped in that was love, just feeling love and acceptance. It was like this, I did not like that at all. So, I got out of there as quick as I could, right?
Was it were you connecting with the words during the worship, or were you just tuning that out and then it hit you? Or
it was the overall feeling and ambience of being in a church with people who worshiping Jesus, worshiping God, and me being in that environment. And it was just all, I couldn't tell you what songs they were. I didn't, it was just the whole environment, the atmosphere. And we talk about atmosphere in church. The atmosphere was just so palpable. And it was really uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable, and I did not like it. And I literally got out of there as quick as I could. And so I kind of wrestled with, you'll laugh, but I wrestled with the Holy Spirit for a while. Like, I knew what it was, but I didn't want to admit it. Because that would be an admission that everything that I thought was true was not true. right?
Which is hard to do.
It's hard to do for
And you
anybody.
stood hard for it, even, right?
I would debate Christians.
Yes.
Like when Julie and I got married, her youth pastor married us, a gentleman called Craig Ginn, who's a wonderful man, and him and I would just have these deep theological discussions in our marriage guidance counseling before we got married, and that's how it was. And so I would debate him vigorously, and he's a very intelligent man. He could debate back, and it was just like so that's where it was. So I'm now home wrestling this. I'm not in a good place, right?
Yeah.
My world is crashing around. My marriage is in pieces. And I'm just thinking this is awful. Juxtapose that to Julie, my wife, who is now fully in her relationship with Jesus again and loves Jesus and just is like, God, you're everything. Like, you're first.
Yeah.
Right? Which, of course, I don't understand as a non-believer. What do you mean you're putting God before me?
Yeah.
What are you doing, right?
Yeah. You're just making decisions willy-nilly. You're
absolutely,
not even,
right?
really thinking about it yourself and making the choice yourself. Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are you... So it's just anathema to everything that I believed in. And so, we had asked a couple who actually were attending here as well to come and just try and help us sit down and figure stuff out, because it was really, really bad. It was ugly. And so they came over, wonderful.
You were
couple.
still separated at this point.
We were wonderful couple, and I was dreading it. I was like, this is the end of our marriage. Like, this is it. Like, this is no. My wife is driving home. She tells the story. She was driving back from work to our house and praying, saying, God, if I have to pick between you and my husband, I pick you.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do this anymore. This is not how I want to live. And if I'm forced to decide to pick between my husband and my God, I'm picking God. So she's driving into our house expecting to be like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
Chips on the table. So we start to talk, and I all of a sudden start blurting out this experience I'd just experienced in this church, and the three of them are looking at me going, what's happening?
They're like, wait, this is new.
Yeah, like
I wasn't ready for this.
Yeah, right. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm sure because they understand what I've experienced, I can't put it into
They're
words.
like, wait, there's a chance here.
Yeah, literally, right? And so I still didn't accept it at that point. And actually, the lady Michelle, whose wedding we were at, was on the phone with me for hours, just explaining stuff. And because I'm very logical, I like to think things through.
Asking questions that are being answered now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. And at the end, she finally said, Simon, it's as simple as this. You either accept what you felt and what you know is truth, or you don't. That's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And so again, my stubbornness, I had to really think about that. And it was just like, there's not really an option here. God's wasn't giving me an option. Well, he always does. But it was just like, it was so blatantly clear to me that this is true, that this is real. It is that literal leap of faith that you have to make, that every believer has to make, right? And so I accepted Jesus, later then. And I would love to say that everything after that was like, oh, and it was all wonderful. No, we still had a broken marriage, right? And now Jesus was in it.
Now you could start repairing.
And now Jesus, and he had to, we had to rebuild trust. We'd lost, and we did, and we're better now than we, but I mean, it was just that situation of, we couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
He had to do that.
Yeah.
And if I didn't know who he was and didn't have it, he wouldn't have been able to. So,
was that hard on your pride?
Oh, absolutely. Pride is, as we know, is one of the enemy's greatest weapons.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves pride.
Yeah.
And of course it did, because I was,
well, think of the fallen man. That was 100% pride.
Yeah.
Like, you will know more than God.
Absolutely. Right.
You will know right from wrong. You won't need him to tell you what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to imagine that would be a fairly big deterrent to coming to know the Lord and being open about it, right?
Well, and it's one of the enemies. I mean, he tried to tempt Jesus with it.
Yeah.
Right? The arrogance of that, to try and tempt Jesus with, you can have all of these kingdoms. Jesus is like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not buying what you're selling me, And so, and it was, pride is huge when you, I really did have to not even swallow my pride, but just do it was a recalibration of where I'm at and just kind of, okay, if this is what I am now, did I believe 10 years later I'd be in ministry? No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but
you're not thinking like you accept faith. Like, well, I'll probably be a youth pastor.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be on staff
at
at a church and preaching. And no, absolutely not. However,
so what? What year was it when this all happened?
10 years. That'll be 10 years ago.
10 years
Just
ago.
over 10 years. So
wow.
Michelle, whose wedding we were at, she had prophesied to Julie that not only would I be saved, but I would be in ministry. And this is long before that. I mean, once Julie stopped laughing.
Yeah.
And so when
She was like, okay.
yeah. And so when I came on staff at the church, I did drop a message to Michelle, and she's like, it wasn't from me. She says I was as weirded out by it as you were, because you're probably thinking
She was at your vow renewal?
She was at our vow renewal.
I
So
I had
yes.
met them.
And so we did Julie, she surprised me with a vow renewal. When was that? It was November?
I was on sabbatical, so it was...
It was over the summer then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, and so I can remember when it was. It was last year. Dates are all. But she had surprised me. She had said, well, we're going to go out and you need to wear your tuxedo.
Maybe I wasn't on sabbatical. Maybe it was back.
I think you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
remember.
so I was like, what
was warm.
What in medicine? Yeah, it's warm. And what in medicine hat do I need to wear a tuxedo for? Like I have a tuxedo.
Going to some event or
Yeah,
gala,
what's going on? And she wouldn't say anything. And I kind of clicked in on the drive there. I'm like, I know what this is doing. But yes, Michelle was at the vow. You would come to the vow renewal. Because when we got married, I did not say in front of God and these witnesses because I didn't believe in God.
Yeah.
And I debated that with Craig. I said, it'd be wrong for me to say that. It'd be a lie.
Isn't it funny? Because like I had never really thought about that before. And I'm like, I bet you everybody else who doesn't believe in God just says it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I refused because I thought I'm not starting my marriage with a lie.
Right.
And that was a lie. I didn't believe in God, so I'm not saying it in front of God. I just said in front of these witnesses. Right. And it was dropped. And that was in a church, and that got through. And it was just that, we'll see. No one noticed, but I did. And Julie did. Right. And that was all that mattered, really, was that, even I don't think a family even noticed that I didn't say that. I mean, I was a bubbling mess anyway at my wedding. So, I mean, it was, but it was important that, especially with this step of moving into full-time ministry, that Julie was like, we've come full circle. We're good. Let's get this done. And then you can say it again in front of God.
Yeah.
And it was cool. And Julie obviously also missed out some stuff that she didn't want to say, which she's learned, about being submissive and stuff like that is very miscontextualized in society. Men love to poke it at women, but really it's one of those it's one of those verses, wives submit to your husbands, that it's like, but what does it say right after? Right. And it's one of those situations where you keep reading, right? Keep reading. What does it say after that? Right. And so, but it was that was really neat to do that. So, and now I'm, we were attending here. Julie was attending Hillcrest. Yep. And so I started attending with her, which was weird. Right.
What service did you guys go to?
Here?
Yeah.
It would have been 10:30, something like that. Whatever the 10:30. So I think it was 10. Yeah.
There was 9:11 at that point.
Okay, so it would have been 11. Yeah.
Okay,
so it was the 11 o'clock
okay.
because 9 o'clock on a Sunday.
I'm trying to remember if I did like so this would have been around 2014, 2015.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, around then. Yeah, 2013, something like that. Yeah, around then, 2013. Yeah, and so we started attending here, and because we knew people here, and it was and Julie, and we had connections here, and it was great.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed our time here, and with when the two churches merged after the flood. Christ the River King. and when those churches combined, we had friends who were attending both and now attending the new one. Are like, hey, you should come check it out. And so we were like, oh, okay. So we were happy here.
Yeah.
But let's go check it out on a Sunday.
I'm glad no one hurt you, and then that's why.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Good opportunity.
Yeah, no.
Someone was really mean to me.
This
Spilled
person
their
was
coffee
really
on me
horrible.
or something.
Yeah. Gave me a weird look when I parked in front of them on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I took someone's seat.
Yeah.
Right?
Ooh.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know.
We actually had an angry man come in once because we had taken his parking spot, whatever that means,
right,
and turned it into a expectant mother's parking spot. And he was very mad about it and had to come in and be angry with us. Yeah. But
yeah, that's unfortunate.
You're going to have to walk 20 more steps to get to church.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it.
You really never know. It might have been your parking spot.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. No, it was honestly just a very simple case of hey, and it was one of those God moments.
You've got a lot of friends going there too. That's
we had a lot
huge
had friends going there, and it was like, okay, we'll go check it out. It was new, and it was just kicking off, and so we went one Sunday. It was one of those situations where God stepped in again. Julie was thinking about it all week. I kind of been thinking about it. Saturday night in bed, I looked at her and said, we should try River Valley tomorrow. And she went, I've been thinking that all week. I went, there you go.
What year was that when they combined?
It was the year after the flood. So 2012 would have been, 2013, something like that. Yeah. And so we went, and it was their Christmas banquet where they basically feed all of the flats, and after the service, the whole worship center was stripped out and tables and chairs and food. And it was just like, oh, this is like actual in action, hands-on we're doing. And we just got right in there. I think we got to church at 10. I think we left at 10 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, oh, I guess this is our church now, right?
Yeah.
Like this is, and so from there, not long after that, I shouldn't say not long after that, maybe 6 months to a year after that, we had, we had a kid who just become a teenager, and it was like, well, there's nothing really for him at the church. The church was kind of getting going, and we
until now.
Exactly. Well, we'd approached leadership and just said in love, like, hey, we noticed you guys don't have a youth group. Do you have any plans for it? And it was like,
Here you go.
guess what?
Yeah.
And they knew it wasn't completely out of left field. Like Pastor Larry knew Julie. Pastor Larry was a youth pastor, knew Julie from growing up. Julie's known that family. So it's not like we were two complete strangers that and yeah, we were like, okay, let's run the youth group.
And I love that. I love you guys so much. Like you're honestly one of my favorite couples like ever. The enthusiasm for ministry and for people, I find it really inspiring. But like you guys really did. You took something that was like necessary and you just showed up week after week, and no one was paying you to be there. No one was making you be there. It's just like your heart for the community and for those kids was so strong that every week you just kept going back and you were feeding them every week. Food's been your thing.
Food is our thing. Yeah.
Like I just found, honestly, like I think about it a lot. I think it was really inspiring because like I'm like, I don't know, a lot of us like we're paid to be in youth ministry, whatever, and that's like a perk. But like you're like your heart was like, we're doing this, and you did it as a couple. Like both of you were doing this. Yeah,
it's something that Julie loved youth when she was a kid, right? She and really valued it. I never had it, obviously, growing up, and so it was one lady one day at church on a Sunday. She said to me, she says, I'd done an update. What was happening in youth from the pulpit. This is what we're doing. And this lovely lady, the saint of our church, came up to me afterwards and she says, "Wow, you guys really think outside the box." And I said, "What box?"
Yeah.
I don't know what the box is. I've never been to Bible school. What's the box?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, honestly, that's honestly a strength for you.
It was
knowing, like you're not comparing yourself to what youth group was for you.
Right.
Growing up,
right?
Like maybe Julie can give you some context of what things that they had done that were fun that you can do in your own way. But yeah, you don't have this previous conception of what it should look like. You can just make it happen however you want it to.
It's just evolved over the years. Yeah. So we've been doing it. This is year 8. It's year 7 going into year 8. We're just doing it for every Friday, and we've done some weird and wacky stuff.
Can you tell us some of the weird and wacky things?
Yeah.
I mean,
tell us some fun stories, maybe some mistakes along the way.
Well, last year's mistake was youth sleepover. We decided we were going to do 2 nights.
I won't even do one. I can't. I refuse.
We've got ours coming up again soon.
Don't even bring that idea up. Block this part off the podcast.
Yeah, we did 2 nights because we'd done 1 night previously and it was fun. So we're like, let's do 2.
It'll be twice as fun.
It was not twice as fun.
And then you had to go to work.
It was twice as tiring. And remembering, I'm still full-time job Monday morning at 8 o'clock, working a real job, right? And so it was Friday night, and and the Saturday was great because we went to Prairie Gleaners. So we took the whole group to Prairie Gleaners, and we volunteered all morning at Prairie. And we did, Saturday night. By Sunday morning, I was done. I was just cooked.
Was it?
I can't imagine.
Was it like a all-nighter type situation where you're trying to stay up, or
no?
You
absolutely.
were actually going to sleep?
Not the boys. I laughed because we were in the room with the boys, myself and a gentleman who was helping for the weekend. And we goof around. It's boys, it's teenage boys, and once they kind of settle down, and I mean the smell's pretty bad, but once they settle down, it was like, okay, boys, it's it's 11:30. Let's okay, and they went to sleep. And it was wonderful. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, this is great. And then I saw my wife.
Oh, no.
And the girls decided they weren't going to do that. And the same thing happened out at camp last year. We went to camp last year and the boys were like, okay, boys. And they were like, yeah, went to bed. And the girls were like, oh, all night. And my poor wife just woke up and she's like, no, can't do this. I'm getting too old for this.
For me, the overwhelming feeling after one night, I don't know what it is. It's like, it's just nausea. Just like the next, I cannot wait for everyone to please go home so I can finish cleaning up. So I
even like at a youth retreat or a lock-in?
Oh, no, like lock-in related stuff. I always just woke up the next day and I'm like, I feel nauseous. My favorite one was when I went to YC one year and I was the leader in this particular group or whatever. And it was night 2. So you're just already so tired, right?
Yep.
You've heard Reggie Dabbs play his trombone.
Yeah, you've heard Reggie's played.
Yeah. Newsboy is sang again.
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
And so like I'm responsible for this. And so like I let him talk for a while, but I'm like, at some point, I think Alicia kind of snapped. And I was just like, I stood up and because the lights are still on, I'm like, you guys, I was like, it is nighttime. I'm like, turn the lights off. Let's go to bed. And the girls just stop and they look at me. They're like, it's the morning. I don't know what happened. I don't know. It was the morning.
They're like getting ready to go.
You just blacked out?
I blacked out so hard that the same thing was happening when I went to sleep as it was when I woke up. And I was like,
you feel kind of robbed.
It's like, okay.
You're like, but I didn't get any sleep. I don't feel rested.
Right?
I've had that happen
literally
before.
missed the night.
Where you go to, where I've gone to bed and like a roll over and it's like already like 6 a.m. or something. I'm like, no, I didn't get any sleep. I don't feel rested. Go back.
Yep.
This isn't fair.
No,
I'm done. I refuse.
Yeah, I only experienced YC once.
Okay.
Because we for a few years didn't, and then we were like, we heard it was the last one.
Oh.
And so we said, okay.
Was that the one in Red Deer then?
In Red Deer, yeah. And so our philosophy has always been, we're all going. We'll figure out the finances. We're all of our youth are gonna go. If it's an event, we're all going.
Nice.
And so we did some fundraisers to kind of raise some money for accommodation and things like that. But we all went on, and it was Reggie and it was it was King Country and it was the usual. But it was fun but the evenings were like in a couple of motel rooms with teenage boys and it's just like okay. And actually my son was on that one, so it wasn't so bad because it was like, okay, at least I know he's going to actually listen to me, which of course was a ridiculous thing to think because of course he's not, right? But
Dad, I have to be cool in front of my friends.
Exactly, right? And so I'm like,
one.
I know. No, I mean he was as good as the rest of them. But we enjoyed that experience. It was tiring. It was really tiring. And then driving back was just like, okay, because we just drove up in cars and we just kind of went up on our own. And but it was funny when we started City Youth. I remember talking to you guys about it, and we're like, yes, this is great. And I love each church doing its own thing and kind of doing its own little style and doing its own. But the actual conference itself was so much fun because I
got to sleep in your own bed.
Got to sleep in our own bed at night. Right? I could get up. I was refreshed. I had a good night's sleep. I was showered. I was ready to go. And I got there. And the first night was really cool because it's it's Friday night. So our usual. It was so much fun. And but we had asked our church to kind of help sponsor. Hey, let's sponsor a child. We're all going. We'd figure it out one way or another. We did some fundraisers. We kind of did some stuff. And I, on the Sunday, I'd come up and at church and said, hey, listen, we played the promo video and it was like, this is, I said, we're going to go. All our kids are going. It's going to be awesome. If you're interested in sponsoring a kid, let me know. Put, sign up sheets in the. So Tuesday morning, the office called me and said, we've had a really large donation for the youth to cover. And it literally covered everything, all the kids' registration. It covered us going to getting breakfast. It covered us getting the Boston Pizza. For, like this very generous donation. And so it was like fabulous. So I just said to the kids, right, we're going. We're all going. Yeah. Like some of the kids, and it was the always rule.
Unless you have something else going on.
Right, exactly, right. And the rule is always, there are some families who can pay for it and there are some that definitely can't. And so it was essentially, if you can pay your way, awesome, right? If you can't, then don't worry about it. Come to us quietly and we'll, there's no judgment. There's no shame. We get it, right? And it was funny. The Friday night we kind of hung out and stuff, and my wife had the idea because one of the youth had got a pickup truck. She just learned to drive and had a truck, and so she's outside. And my wife went, "Let's tailgate in the morning. Let's do." And so
that's where this started.
So what had happened was it was funny because we went out to early in the morning. We went out and just went to Tim Hortons and grabbed a big thing of coffee and chocolate milk and donuts and bagels. And we just literally sat in the tailgate before the Saturday event was starting. We were all out there. It was a double pronged because we wanted to take the kids' orders for Boston Pizza that night so we could call it in. So when we showed up, they just put, but it was funny because I had to dip out because we had a leaders meeting.
Yeah.
I think it was Jeff. He's like,
Jeff Goring?
Yeah, Jeff Goring. There's kids outside and they're like eating donuts and other kids are asking what's going on. And he turned and looked at me and went, oh, it's you guys, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, it's us.
Awesome.
It's us. And it was fun. It was
Food's
just food's on. He's like, of course it's you guys. And and Aaron Party was like, yeah, it's you guys. I'm like, that's so yeah, so cool. we love it, right? And we're seeing it. We're actually we're really fortunate now. I'm on staff at church. I've transitioned from being a deacon to being on staff. Yeah. We have an expansion. We're building an expansion right now. for youth and
Are
children.
the permits finally going through?
Oh, it's there's walls up. I mean, it's going like
good.
it is full on construction site there, and so they're there and so it's really cool to see because we just need more space for kids and youth.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have, but it's also understanding that that's not just going to be used on a Sunday morning for kids and on Friday night for youth. It's how do we utilize it for the community through the whole week.
How do you be a good steward?
Exactly. See?
We're talking a lot about stewardship right now in our sermon.
Funnily enough,
you guys too? Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. I think it's pretty much a lot of churches in January. You know what? And people laugh at it. No, the church is asking for kind of money.
Yeah.
It is, but it isn't.
There's some great principles that
there
you
really
forget.
is.
Yeah.
Right. There really is. And
I've really appreciated the past 2 sermons.
Yeah.
We pulled off a miracle last night.
At you?
Well, yeah, because we were talking about the feeding of the 5,000.
Okay.
And so I was like, it was my dream to recreate the miracle. So
with goldfish.
Well, yeah, because I'm laughing to myself while I'm coming up with it because I'm like, this is fish and loaves.
Fish and loaves.
Right? Fishy crackers.
Combine the two into one.
So then like Levi had to help me because I'm like, okay, how do we make this happen? I'm like, if I bring all these supplies, I'm like, how do we distribute this and make it look like a miracle?
So I go up. Alicia's like, Levi's got a quick announcement, and I just pull out this like box that's empty-ish.
Right.
You know, I'm like, oh, there's just we found this in the snack drawer. We just got to get rid of it before it goes bad or whatever. We got 2 bags. Can some leaders come up? Maybe it's a good idea we didn't do this, but I thought we could even bless it and pray for it beforehand.
I felt too
sacrilegious a little bit.
Yeah. Let's not do it.
Yeah. Denver Kanoto says, what if God actually does a miracle and we have 5,000 bags or something? I'm like, you say that like that's a bad thing. That would be cool if that happened.
Like, this
actually
is a
happens.
Church. We will always make use of fishy crackers.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll give it to Cindy. But we had beforehand, all the leaders had stuffed their pockets with more bags of goldfish, so they're going around handing them out. And that was me. No, that was me.
I thought that was me.
And so they keep handing them out, and we're like, "Oh man, and I keep going back to this box. I'm like, "Wait, there's 2 more bags again.
What's going
on? How is this happening? Oh, there's another box back here. What's happening?"
Until everybody had some, and there were some left over.
Yeah. You could save 12 baskets left over.
Right. See,
I took attendance last night, and I know how many bags of fishy crackers we had. Those kids weren't honest. They for sure took more than one.
There's kids who are like, I haven't got one yet, and I see them chewing on the crackers they're still finishing.
Cracker dust.
I'm like, please be honest with me. Just.
Oh man. I mean, if you need to do that for Sunday, feel free.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We have some leftovers.
Oh, well, there you go.
You just have to bless them.
I'll bless it, and then we'll have enough.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. I laughed stewardship. We did a series on stewardship in the summer, just a short little series, and it was one of those. When I'm crafting a sermon now, I always kind of laugh. I kind of get in touch. Me and Holy Spirit hang out, and we kind of come up with a sermon. And one things whenever people talk about stewardship is, the church needs money. Right? No, they're after money, right? Because unfortunately that's how it's being worded a lot of times, right? Is that and for me, in the summer, I phrased it more. No. You've got more than just money to give God.
Yep.
Right. You've got gifts and talents that you can give the Lord.
Yeah.
Right. He's not just after your finances. Right. He's going to look after your finances.
Which is a big part of it, though, because for a lot of people, they'll do everything else, but that.
Yes.
And they'll still hold on to that, but you have to release everything.
It's everything, and it's one of those. We had talked to the youth about this one Friday night, and I always laugh when I talk to them because they actually listen. Sometimes on a Sunday, and I don't mean this in a negative way, like you can kind of see people are just like, they're listening, but they're not, but the youth like listen.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a great training spot for any preacher is like, go speak to youth because they'll listen.
Yeah.
Right. And we were talking about stewardship and this, and your gifts and talents and what the gifts and talents that you've been given that you might not even know yet that you have. We are always discovering things that in later life that, I'm actually good at this.
Yeah.
Wow, who knew?
Yeah.
There's definitely things you can't do, right? You don't want me on the worship team.
Yeah.
That's not a thing you want.
No.
Right? No, give me a microphone, I'll preach.
Okay.
I'm in a worship team, right? Although it's always been my ambition to learn the bass. So maybe.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking I could picture you as a bass player.
It really has. It's always been an ambition of mine to learn bass guitar. So exactly, right? So Steve Harris inspired bass player, but I've always wanted to play bass. So maybe that's something that I can get into. But it's really cool watching, even God with us, people. I mean, this is awful. I'm almost 50, which is right. Really? And yeah, I know. So it's really realizing that now you kind of go, wow. I look at myself now I'm a couple of years away from 50, and it's like, wow. 10 years ago, there was no way I would be where I am now. I wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't be 10 years before that, 10 years before. And it's just like, and watching the youth going, you've got all this in front of you, take it in chunks, because where you think you're going, you may end up way over here, and you're like, you're never going to be too late in your life for things to change. No. And it is quite funny, I remember after I was saved, and I'm not on Facebook. I think I even wasn't at that time. I might have been, but put out a thing saying, hey, this is what's happened. This is what's going on. And losing all my friends.
Wow.
Literally losing all the people who I considered friends, because they were like, yeah, right. And hearing some awful things said about it, and just going, okay. And keep not all, a couple of people were like, who I still talk to, were like, okay, they don't really get it, but they're like, okay. But having to do that and let those people go, but God's like, yeah, but I've got this for you, right? And being enriched by people in my life now that, don't get me wrong, I still love those people, and I'm praying for them. I still pray for them, and just think, hey, you never know. It's never too late. God can do weird things at weird times to people who you don't expect, right? Yeah. Like me. And it is, but it's funny now when my family back home, they're like, you get the jokes when I said, 1 day a week job. Nice. You only work Sundays, and it's just like, I wish it was like that, but it's.
I get asked that a lot. Yeah. What do you do all day?
What do you do? What do you do for the rest of the week? Yeah. Well, I got asked that. So I just drove back from Fredericton, New Brunswick. My son was going to university out there, and it didn't work, and that's okay, right? Sometimes things don't work, and he actually did really well at school. It just, other things just didn't work out. And so he's back home, but his car was still there, and all of his stuff was still there. So I flew out and packed up some stuff in his car, and movers came, and we packed up the condo, and so then I drove. And that actually came up. I stopped in a little place called White River, Ontario. Okay. Which is in the middle of nowhere, Ontario. It's famous for being where Winnie the Pooh was captured, which I didn't know until I walked up.
Captured?
Yes, the actual
new movie.
The actual bear. Winnie the Pooh was a real bear.
Oh, fun!
It was actually a real bear, and it was captured. It was it's named after Winnipeg. It was captured, right? It was captured in this little place called White River, Ontario, by an English explorer and taken. And so there's a whole story behind Winnie the Pooh. So I pull into this little town, and it's like, Winnie the Pooh's everywhere. I'm like, what's the scoop? So of course, Wikipedia, right? The source of all knowledge. Oh, that's kind of cool. So I check into this little tiny motel. I'm tired, right? Just driven all day. I'm really tired. And this gentleman, he's like, oh, we're just talking. He says, what do you do? I says, I'm a pastor at a church. That's a job. They pay you for that? I'm like, yeah, it's a job. It's like,
no, but what do you do for work?
And that's it. He's like, yeah, but what about the rest of the week? Yeah. Right? What do you do for the rest of the week? It's like
just eternally busy and stressed.
Yes.
Our sermons aren't improv, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. And that's been for me the really cool thing about being on staff now is because before I would work at 8 to 5 Monday to Friday, and lead youth, and lead a small group, and be a deacon.
So you have downtime now.
Well, yeah.
Hey,
right.
That's great.
Because you're spending all your evenings prepping all that,
right? Yeah. And so it was like I was plus I was a deacon in the church, and then youth on Friday nights. Yeah. So I mean, I had something most nights of the week.
I bet you there'd be some people that were like, well, if you could make it work that way, why didn't you just keep doing it that way?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. And then prepping a message to preach on a Sunday. I was in the preaching rotation. Right. So it was just like, okay, so it was a lot. I mean, and so now to have the jobby job removed and to be able to just now actually, the first week it happened, I was preaching, I finished my message, and it was Friday afternoon, and I was like, wow, okay. The slides were done.
You're like,
everything was done.
Oh yeah, hobbies.
Yeah, like
what are those again? I forget.
Bass guitar.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, this is really strange. And I thought, but this is cool, right? Like this is actually really cool that I can now just not have to go home and spend all day Saturday writing a message, which is what I used to do. It was all done on a Saturday and I had preached on the Sunday. And
you get to hang out with Julie now.
Yep, I get to hang out with my wife and my kids back, and I get to, play video games, which, I like to do, which is...
What games do you play?
The youth still laugh at me for it.
Uh-oh.
They do. And because I'm a big Call of Duty guy.
Yeah. They laugh at you for that?
Yeah, well, because I also watch the League. I watch Call of Duty League. I'm a big esports guy. But
like the Warzone Call of Duty, or
I play a little bit of Warzone, but mostly just the multiplayer. I've played it since it came out, and I'm just video games is just my thing. We were at a friend from church's house. Their son is 6 or 7. Hey Simon, I'm like, what's up, buddy? He's like, you want to play FC24 with me? No, which is FIFA, right? Which is what I've been playing that since it came out 20 years ago. I'm like, yeah, I'll play with you, buddy.
Yeah,
I'll try it.
Oh yeah, let's give it a go. I mean, the first game, it was not even close. And then the second game, I was trying really hard not to win.
Oh, whoops.
And his parents are laughing. And I'm just like, sorry, this is kind of what, but that's, so the youth do kind of laugh because, I'm not a young guy, but it's like, I grew up in the 80s. We played, that's the video game was what we did.
So they're a bit different than they were in the 80s.
They're a little different than what they were, but I mean, they're no less fun or enjoyable. So that's kind of my thing.
We can add Call of Duty to the list of things that make me nauseous. I like any of the video games that are like first person and like the head is moving around. Like I can't. When I was a youth pastor in Calgary, I ran an after school program for kids who just came by. And so like a couple hours every day, like I'm trying to entertain them. They just always wanted to play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And so, and like, they're like, they care passionately about you seeing them do this. They're like, are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching? And I'm like, I'd have to leave and stand in the bathroom and try not to vomit. I'm like, I actually get so motion sick. I'm like, oh, don't make me do this anymore.
Please, I don't want to watch.
That's where I introduced Dutch Blitz. Which they got passionately into, and Death Ball. Yeah, we played that after school every day. But then I got a break from Call of Duty watching.
Sickness,
Dutch Blitz is more dangerous than Call of Duty.
Yeah, there was some blood.
It can be,
it really can be.
But you don't get motion sick.
There's no motion sickness, but you'll lose fingers.
It was fine. It's fine.
I first started playing Dutch Blitz as the giant-sized ones, where you've got the huge cards.
Yeah.
So then, like, the first time playing it with, like, normal, I'm like, well, where's my other teammate that's flipping the cards? And, like...
Did you play that with Jake when he did the social experiment?
What was...
He played, like, the lamest Christian music you've ever heard. It's like, do you remember kind of like Point of Grace? It was like a all-women... You can imagine.
Where was this? What he did it?
I don't know. Up in room 200 one time. I think I was in charge with him. I don't know.
Were you an intern? Because it would have been entrance 6 then.
No. Okay. We're up in 200. So I don't know whatever the time. We were in 200. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So we played that for Giant Dutch Blitz. And it was actually kind of fun. We played fine. Everything was okay. And then he put on heavy metal for the second round. And there was blood. And there was people screaming. And like we were running into each other at full. Like, because it was his social experiment on music and the impact it had.
I can just picture like the Doom theme from the video.
Yeah. It was intense. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think I do remember that.
It was crazy.
I have a vague memory of that.
I can't forget it.
Yeah.
It's good. Right. Well, and you brought up heavy metal. It is funny because, as you know, you
don't like that at all.
No, that's totally. So I mean that is my, and it was really funny too. A friend of mine had said to me, well, what about, because I mean my favorite band since I was this big and always will be is Iron Maiden. always will be. And which I've had some interesting discussions with people in our church, and I look at them and go, the drummer's a Christian, right? Like, look here's his drum kit with anyway, so but someone had said to me, well, now you're a Christian, you're gonna listen to that anymore? I'm like, just because I'm saved doesn't mean all of a sudden I like pop music. Yeah. Like that's not a thing, it's right?
Really
not a
not
thing.
Better.
No, and hey, if that's your jam, fantastic. If you're the world's biggest Chris Tomlin fan, great. All the power to you. It's not my thing, right? I'll be over here listening to Theocracy, right? Which is great, but so It's really interesting. I'm trying to pitch the new Christian radio station for a Christian rock show.
The radio station's getting they got acquired by UCB Radio.
So on the 3rd. So we've been church has been kind of in there helping do some stuff and set up and this, that, and the other. And so I'm kind of trying to pitch them on a Christian rock show in the evening. I'm like, you don't think people would listen to that?
Tyler would love that.
Yeah,
sounds like. Well, you mean you got free time now, so you could host it.
Trust me, he's like, I'm like, well, I know a guy and I know a couple of other guys. So
even
it's
Pastor Jamie.
Yeah.
He's been recommending bands to Tyler that Tyler's never heard of. It's
a lot of like 80s too, like old school type of Christian, like heavy rock and metal. And
So
stuff,
you went to Petra, had a...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was pretty excited about that.
I mean, because and it explaining that to the youth as well, right? Because and it's no different than watching the youth at the youth conference, for example, or even at YC, right? Some of the kids really love Peabod. Peabod's great. He's got great energy. He's got a great message. He makes sure that they recognize this is not about him, Peabod. This is about Jesus, right? But some of the kids just don't connect with that music, and they're kind of like, oh, this is not my thing. And it no matter who you are, right? And so it's explaining to the youth sometimes, like they'll come in and I'll have something playing. I'm like, what are we listening to here? And it's like, because sometimes I'll just have the tunes on as they're coming in, and it's Peabod and it's whoever, like just kind of. But sometimes I'll mix it up, and it's Theocracy and it's Singing Regis and it's these Christian metal bands, and they're going,
I've never thought to do this. When we do our games on a Tuesday night, we should play heavy metal.
See if it affects the game.
yeah.
We have to now.
It's a great idea.
We have to.
We'll recreate the experiment.
Crank the speed up a little bit, and they'll,
You know, we were playing.
We can play with different levels of volume too. Like, is it louder? Is it quieter?
Yeah. We were torturing them last night. We were legitimately because we were playing musical chairs. We play this once in a while because they get really into it.
Right.
Like, they compete for it hard. And we like to make them run.
Yeah.
You know.
And if there's like some songs, there's like kind of like a pause for a quick second,
yes,
and they're like they go to sit. I'm like, no, keep going. It's just part of the song.
Yep.
But we've started. I guess we've been doing this for a couple of years now. We find the worst Christian videos we can find on the internet, or like something just really painful, really bad.
So you've heard of Friday by Rebecca Black?
Yeah.
Have you heard the Sunday version?
Yes.
You know exactly.
Yes.
So we played it last night, and Levi told the kids, like, if you hate this and you want it to stop, you have to do something to make it stop.
And so, Alicia, what do we get them to do to make it stop?
So I said 7 people had to go up on stage and dance to it to make it stop. And we had 5 up there for a while.
Well, first it was 3, and they were dancing. I'm like, okay, guys, just 4 more,
one
please.
Gave
and
up.
I'm begging
One
them
thought it was
because I
hopeless.
wanted to stop
because it's on loop. It's just going to keep playing. Yeah.
And I'm like, please, someone go up. And we got 2 more, and then I think someone dragged Carrie because she was already dancing, but she refused to dance on stage. Yeah.
So then we were able to shut it down. But then musical chairs, they just, they weren't putting in enough effort. And so we said, if you don't go fast enough, we're going to play the song. They didn't go fast enough. We played the song.
Because they're like slowly walking by each chair and then jumping to the next chair and slowly walking by.
Hedging as they walk. Oh, yeah.
And the hands like ready to grab the back so they can,
Yep.
So we played Sunday, and then they started speeding up, and like went back to the other song because I didn't want to hear it anymore either. So
yeah, it's pretty bad.
There's the rap. Oh.
There's some seriously bad, horrifically bad, and I see them, they pop up on Instagram or whatever. And it's just like, and she's a little old D, and here's Janice playing, and they come over and they're like, it's like,
what was the other one you showed me that we'd already seen?
God is doing a new thing.
Have you seen that one?
He's doing it.
Yeah. And you're
there's the Christian cha-cha slide. Have you seen that one?
Yes. And there was another one. There was a couple that I kind of send around and we're just like,
send them to us too.
I will.
If you find anything new we haven't seen.
The worst church singer ever remains my favorite. He just like looking for a city.
Oh yeah.
And it just and it just keeps getting higher.
Pick a key, right? Any of them. Right, pick a key and stay in it.
That's
right,
my favorite.
I think my favorite one I saw, unsurprisingly, is church hires the wrong drummer, and they're playing worship and they've got
the Oceans.
heavy metal drummer.
Oh yes, that's so
just
funny.
going on. It's so good. I'm like, that's great. That actually makes it sound
more of that,
way
please.
more of this. This is what I want to hear.
Do you see the Gaither-looking family where the guy in a suit starts breakdancing?
What?
That's also one of my favorites.
That one. You have to send me that one.
Yeah.
Have we shown that?
You're gonna have to post that one.
Oh yeah, maybe it's before you, but that's my favorite.
Okay, I got to see that one.
I'll send it.
Also, the one we showed recently where the guy changes into like some cartoon character voice.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that.
Have you seen that one? No. What is it? I forget what it's called.
I laugh because I understand what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah, right.
They're trying to be relevant. They're trying to be, and it's like, okay, but kids aren't stupid and they can see through it. Like I'm, again, as old guy, right? I mean, Josh from Link and I laugh. We're the same age, right? So we laugh about this. We're the old guys, right? I'm not trying to be hip and cool with the kids because I'm not hip and cool because that ends up being creepy.
Right.
Here we go.
Right.
That's why we hired Levi.
Right. Someone to be hip and cool with the kids, right? Is this?
Praise you, I you fearfully made all my days you planned for me. and I'll always
He's got like a
be
decent
sacrifice
voice, you know.
praise.
Not terrible.
Triumph
Nice mullet going on.
fearfully and wonderfully made.
When I was made in secret, you saw me at it for.
Elmo come from?
And my days long before I knew them. You hear and understand.
He does a
me.
laugh at one point,
You know
too.
by
Oh, yeah.
every thought.
Oh, here it is.
Your skillful hand has made me who I am. I will praise you.
Okay.
of nightmares.
I mean, again, it's like, is he trying to pretend he's a child doing
I don't know.
it? It's
Is he
weird.
actually,
I think
like,
he-
was
I think
he
it's a character that he
McGinney?
does.
Was he, like,
It's
Yeah.
it's a little strange.
But he's
without
doing
the
it
pu-
live.
without the puppet
Yeah,
or
yeah.
animated
Yeah,
thing.
no,
Yeah.
that's
That
not,
was in Miami, Florida.
that's that. Well, okay, there you go. That's,
So it was just
no
what it is.
comment. Yeah, exactly, right.
Explain some things.
It does, right? But I again, just like I say, I don't try and be hip and cool with the kids because
Yeah.
I'm not hip and cool with the kids. Again, I'm an almost 50-year-old
Mm-hmm.
man who's from a completely different country, and it's just finding connection with the kids. They just want authenticity.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's all
Just
they
want a
want. Just be
relationship.
real.
Yeah.
Call a spade,
And the
right?
food does not
and
hurt.
food does not hurt, and they just want to be real with it. And like I said earlier about not having a box, we just love our kids, and any students that come in, no matter where they are, it's just like, hey, I don't care where you are, where you're at, what's going on at home.
I feel like you didn't tell us enough of the crazy things that you have done. Actually, these out of the box things.
Yeah, what are some things that
Okay, so
went
once you
well and
take
some
them
things
to
that
it-
didn't go well?
Did they learn drums or something once you took them to something off?
Yeah, so we do a lot of stuff off site. We because we just like to go out, and plus the room where we're in right now is not really conducive to having a group of 30 teenagers in there. It smells. So, and it's loud, right? So we go out. Yeah, there was one place in town where they had like the big exercise balls that you sit on, but you would drum on them.
That's what it was.
So we've done that. This year our kickoff was down at the what's it called now? I'm going to forget the name of it, but essentially a splatter room.
Oh, okay.
That's fun.
And so we just took them all, and it is a huge advantage of having a smaller group. We
can't do
we
that.
max at about 30, and 30 is
We're
like
still going to get requests for it now.
yeah, of
but-
course you are, and I'm sorry, right? But we and which is great because there's 3 of us, so 30 is just it's fantastic,
yeah.
right? And so we went down there, and the kids had a blast. But just stuff like that, it's just what can we do that not? We've done that. We've done there was a place up in Crescent Heights, not there anymore, unfortunately, where you take a piece of pottery and you paint it and do stuff like that.
Oh,
we
yeah,
just,
that's fun.
we just take them all up and do stuff like that. And there's the old classics. We will just, let's go mini golfing. We're just going mini golfing and just stuff like that. But
I once hired someone to teach our girls self-defense. It was a really weird night.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's not a terrible idea, but
was
we
It's
had
an interesting activity,
Yeah.
right?
It was different.
It's different.
We
than the
early
normal.
on we had a family friend, and she is a knitter. She likes to knit,
Oh,
and so she came in and taught the youth to knit. And
that
it was
is hard.
It was really funny watching who picked it up because it was like some of the roughy toughy boys were just like, "Oh, this is."
amazing.
And it was just like, wow, that's really cool. So it's just, again, with not having a box and not really, and I've had a few people say, what's that teaching them? It's just fun.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to have just fun?
Community.
Like we can have just fun. And I believe this, and I will say this all the time, especially the start of a new year. August, September rolls around, you get a whole bunch of kids coming up from, we start at grade 7. So the grade 6s come up, or you get some new kids, they bring friends. And, I had a parent one time say to me, well, my kid's been coming for a couple of weeks and you're not really teaching them anything. And I says, I don't know them yet. And they don't know me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to have a relationship with this person. There's got to be some level of trust before I can even introduce Jesus, right? Jesus is there, and we pray and we talk about you. But like an actual, a study, a discussion, we're not there yet. Like give it a couple of weeks, and we, the seniors we do, and then the juniors we build up to it, and it's always a balancing act because you've got the church kids who are raised in the church, they go to the Christian school, they're church, and they love Jesus, and that's their, and so for them, I could just throw some scripture at them and they'd be in it, right? Yep. But then you've got the kids who, I don't know, they're just there and they don't really know. And I always, as an outsider, I always kind of think of myself as that. What would it be like to be brought into this weird group of people with these weird people leading who are...
Eat my flesh, drink my blood.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly, right? And it's just like, what are they talking about? I mean, so we do the crazy, we do the drinking the pop through the sock. And, okay, we did that one time. Okay, no, hang on a second. So Simon, I decided to...
you lost me.
No. So it was, and I made it very abundantly clear to the youth, this is entirely voluntary.
So hold on. Is it a used sock?
Oh, take your sock off your foot.
Oh, it is
Your own
as bad
foot?
as I
Oh, yeah.
thought.
Okay.
Oh,
So
you're-
take-
So at least
At least it's your own
it's your own foot.
It wasn't like that around here.
Yeah.
No,
They made us use someone else.
No.
Oh.
Okay, so
I didn't do it.
No. I had them all in a circle because it was the boys, of course, right? And I said, at any time you can nope out of this, right? I am not. And they were like, yeah, we understand. So take your sock off.
But they're all like, I'm not going to wuss out of it.
No, right?
Yeah,
Because, and that's what
I'm too
happens,
tough.
right? The boys all, and so I had them all there. They had their sock over the can of pop, and I went, oh, before you drink, just move it one to the left.
Oh, you did. You
did.
did. Oh,
And
Simon.
a couple of them just noped out of it. And of course, all the other kids at the back are going, oh, what are you? You know what?
Did some still do it?
Oh yeah, of course they did.
my
Of course they
gosh.
did. The football players, of course they did. They were like, "Yeah, we'll do this," and a couple of them.
It's so funny. These are the things that labeled me as
This
a
is making
rebel
me
when I
nauseous.
was in youth group because like my youth pastors tried to make me do stuff like that. And I
like,
said no. And then they
And that's
told me I was
okay.
setting a bad example
No,
for
it's
everybody else
not.
and with my bad attitude.
No,
And I
I-
refused. Oh yeah. Dave once had Alka-Seltzers that he put into Sprite and tried to make me chug it. I said no to that.
Yeah, I'm not
There's
doing that.
something with Jello once I said no to. You know, like fish in there for something. I said no to that. Like a bunch
Youth
of things. I was just
ministry
like,
was
I'm
a
not doing that.
different thing
There's
back-
like milk
Right.
Back in the day,
chugging. I was like, I'm lactose intolerant. I said no to that. I'm like, I'm not really sad. So my rule personally is I won't make kids do things that I refuse to do. But
agree.
I feel like you'd be willing to do
I agree,
that.
100%. I mean, absolutely, and I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah.
We can find a can of pop and I'll give
I'm
up
in,
some.
right? It doesn't bother. The one night, so this is the joy of doing.
Prove it.
Right? the one evening, my wife, who does this with me, decided I don't even.
She
know.
drank you.
No. It's
through a
worse.
sock? Oh, okay.
She for
worse?
Some, no. So for
There's worse than that?
for some reason, I showed up and was handed a bin liner, like a garbage bag,
Yeah.
and was told to put it on like a coat.
Yeah.
So I had a head.
How are
hole.
you supposed to breathe?
Like a head, it was a coat, so it was all covering
like a
me,
cut-
right?
okay.
And then she gave, and then
is just murder.
And then she gave me a pair of goggles, and I was told to stand over there. And then she proceeded to hand the youth spoons and cups of pudding.
Hilarious.
I said to her after it, so the kids are flinging pudding at me.
Are you doing this outside?
Yeah,
Okay.
not sure what the point of the lesson was or anything, but the kids had fun.
That's probably a core memory that will always
100% it is.
be with them, though.
We did the slip and slide outside with the build your own Sunday slip and slide.
Yeah.
So
That's
each
fun.
corner had stuff you had to put on, and instead of water on the slip and slide, it was chocolate sauce.
We did that with leftovers at camp once,
Yep.
but I think kids got rashes, so we
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
do it anymore.
Oh, there was injuries.
Yeah.
There was injuries. This is, it turns out that chocolate sauce is quite slippery. And then the sliding through. Yeah. So we did that. We've, it's
So
just.
sorry, how is this worse than drinking
See, you're
pop
stuck.
through a
You're stuck.
sock?
You're there. You're stuck there
Yeah.
still, aren't
it's
you?
the
Yeah.
bacteria, and smell.
You said it's
and-
worse, and it doesn't. I mean, it's not good.
No, it's still not good.
I mean,
but-
it was fine. A week later, all the kids had these weird things
Yeah,
on their
it's-
mouths, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's just toe fungus.
Yeah. What did you do at youth tonight, honey? Oh, it was fine. Nothing. The usual nothing.
Yeah. Nothing. Yeah.
I love that. I get parents. Yeah, and you guys don't do much at youth. What are you talking about? Well, the kids. Whenever I come, what do you do at youth tonight? Nothing.
Yeah, they do the same thing they
Same
do
at
at school.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, nothing.
What'd you do over the weekend? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
what do we pay that guy for?
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing? Why don't we have this youth ministry?
You
They're
hire 'em
not doing
now?
anything. Yeah. Yeah. Now they're actually paying me to do it. It's like,
Do you?
it's crazy.
I'm curious. Do you still get like people in the office being like, "Hey, Simon, something's wrong with the printer."
This morning.
Yeah.
It was.
Is it a Xerox though?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
it was a
darn.
discussion. I mean,
Because at least you could have been like, "Well, this is an HP. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
can't-
how
yeah.
it
This
works."
was Simon's
this
job.
this was
Yeah.
my job
He
before
was a printer tech.
I was the Xerox technician
Yeah.
for Medicine Hat before I went into ministry, and we have a Xerox in our church office.
That's
And-
unfortunate.
But the two admin, the ladies, they said, "We're not going. You're not here to fix the printer. We have a service." And I'm like, I understand.
Okay.
But this morning, Linda was printing something. She's like, "What's this?" And it was chat. I'm like, "Okay, well, let me have a quick look." I have a quick look.
It's an easy fix.
It's the good thing is if it needs to be a service call, I call them up and I'm like, "Hey, this is
You know what it is.
It needs this and this, right?" And then the tech will call me and say, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Like,
Yeah.
just bring this and this. Okay, So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm very much hands off that. I
Yeah.
try really hard. It's not what I'm there for.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question about these kids because I wonder if they're the same as our kids or if they're different. How seriously do your kids take your games? Because our kids have had injuries and we can no
We've
longer
had to ban
play
certain
certain
games, yeah.
games that were great because they took them too seriously.
Yeah.
They have to win at all costs.
And they will find any way they can to cheat. They'll be
Yeah,
like,
loopholes.
"Oh, technically you didn't say I couldn't do this." I'm like, "Does
Yeah.
it Does it feel like cheating? Is anyone else doing what you're doing?
Sometimes though, I'm
Then-
like, you know what? That was pretty smart.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's annoying. Like we had a guy, sweet boy, had just finished playing soccer, and I thought I'm just going to do a wall sit competition. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal.
Ethan.
It went on for so long that like worship started. He's still doing the wall sit. Like
He's sweating.
He's
Not giving up.
physically
I think he
not
was
okay.
crying.
He was not okay. Like
Yeah.
there was sweat all over his body. His
Yeah.
whole body is shaking.
Yeah.
People were bringing him snack and water. They were dabbing at
Oh,
the
he's
sweat
fine
on
then.
his head. I'm like, you can stop. I'm like, this is not mandatory. I'm like, I gave out after 30 seconds.
Yeah.
This is not, but he had to do it and he didn't win.
Ethan's
did
different
he?
though.
I think a girl defeated him that time.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I thought
that
he was
doesn't-
the
I think
only
it was
one
a
left, and then
Regier.
that's why we were like, you don't have to keep
Oh no,
going.
he could have been done. I think one of the Regier girls took him out. I think it was Rachel.
It's like, just do what all the other boys do. Just go lift some chairs.
Yeah,
That impresses the
you know
girls.
what?
as well.
It does.
We do
It's
make
a
fun
big
of them.
thing
Yeah.
here.
We had a
Yeah.
leader do that the other night. And I'm like, oh, everyone, look, he's lifting the chairs.
How many chairs?
Stop.
How many chairs can you
It's
lift?
okay.
Yeah.
It is that meme, and of course, it a lot of this is still new to me, and still because I didn't grow up in this culture,
Right.
right? So some of it's just I pick up on it, and I think it's funny, and then
Yeah.
it's like Julie or someone, I shouldn't say it's just Julie now. We've had Elaine McCarthy has helped us since day one, and she's a wonderful lady, and she is like every week she's there, and she's amazing. And the three of us, we kind of bounce. I'm the ridiculous anything, Julie's the love, and Elaine is also the love, but
She's a very calm person.
but Elaine is also the knowledge. Like, so if it's like, hey, Simon, in such and such, we've got a couple of kids who will come and hit me with. So I was in Proverbs and I was reading such and such, and I'm like, okay, Elaine, let's just get Elaine, right? And Elaine can come and she's, they're like, oh, you don't know? I'm like, let's just see Elaine, sometimes Elaine will be like, let's sit down and look a bit, and it's like, what are you reading? And it's like, hey, awesome,
That's
you're reading
cool.
your Bible, but
That's cool.
so the three of us work super well together, and it's one of those we had contemplated, do we still do this? Or we still, we'll do it for as long as the Lord's telling us to do it.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? And it's still there. It's still fun.
Yeah.
And it's still impactful. And and for me, it's always been the moment I feel I'm not impacting the kids. That's time to step away and let someone else step in, right? But if I'm still impacting, we still have relationship, and we still, and not just this goofy, but I can still actually impact them and still speak life and love into them.
Well, the
then I'll
call
keep
of
doing it.
God is strong too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel a release from it. So.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, and that's with the youth, right? Like, and a lot of it does. I do, think about, how old is too old to do youth ministry, and it's like, well, there's no age.
I don't like that question.
No,
I think
but-
about it more than I want to. My grandma thinks I'm way too old to be doing this, and I need to retire.
But I mean, the thing he is, but that's the thing. Are
But
you
I love
impacting?
it.
Are you impacting them, right? And if you're still impacting and speaking love and life and Jesus into youth, then keep doing it.
You say you're too old to be hip, but I think there's something unique that you understand how the kids think.
Oh yeah, you're not lame.
Yeah.
No, and yeah,
That's the thing is like you're like you get where they're coming
Yes.
from, and then you're challenging them in ways that they understand and that they get. And I think that's something that it doesn't matter how old you are. There's a lot of people that don't have that
Agreed.
skill and that gift.
My favorite is when they bring their friend,
Yeah.
kicking and screaming sometimes, who doesn't know Jesus,
Yeah.
and is like,
This is gonna be the worst.
and I'm like,
Like
challenge accepted.
I've been there.
And that's a place I can speak from with knowledge and depth and empathize with them. Just be like, I get it.
Be like, you don't understand because you
I-
just grew up in the church.
Yeah.
Like, well,
nope.
Let
I
me
did
tell you
not.
about myself.
Right, exactly. And we can talk to them about it. And that's where sometimes a connection is made. And I've had seen real impact with that. Like, oh, okay. And it's like, yeah, we come here and we're a bit weird and we're a bit goofy and we goof around, but we love Jesus. Right. We love Jesus, and we just want you to love Jesus so that you can go and love Jesus. And by you loving Jesus, showing that into the world, that's the impact you can have. Right. And so that with this new build we're building, that's the kind of impact we want is like you said, an after school thing that's on our mind is let's just have a drop in 1-2 nights a week where kids can come in and see where that goes from. And especially when it's 50 below outside, like to be able to understanding the geography of where our church is.
You're right next to that. Which school is that?
Elm
again?
Street School.
Elm Street,
And we have a great relationship with Elm Street School.
Yeah.
A
Awesome.
really great relationship. They're fantastic to work with. And so, we feed their kids. They have a Christmas lunch. They just had a Christmas dinner at our church. The whole school comes in and we feed them all,
Cool.
teachers, staff, everyone, right?
That's great.
And we do the same at Easter. And, we help the school when they need it. And it's a great relationship. And it's so good to just have that because it is difficult. Like you and I, we're not allowed to go into a school and talk about Jesus. We're not allowed, right? Into a public school, it's not allowed. But we can have that relationship. It's not, on the side where it's just like, we can help you, we can just love you, and do this way, right? So I'd love to be able to go into the Hat High and Crescent Heights.
You actually can.
Well, yeah.
I just found this out.
Yeah.
One of my students, shout out Ruben, leads the Christian club at Hat High.
Good.
Got me my little in. I
Good.
provide a little bit of paperwork, and now I can go.
Awesome.
On their lunch breaks.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And it's neat, we love empowering the youth, empowering them to be, but it'd be great. Yeah. Talk to me afterwards, because I totally want to talk to you about that, because I do totally want in on that.
Yes.
And the Catholic, it's a little, my son went to McCoy, the Catholic system, and they have their own, but Jesus is still in there, and it's still talked about. And, but yeah, it's the world definitely needs Jesus more than, and
every day.
I was just listening, just did this huge drive, right? Yeah. 5 days solid from New Brunswick to Alberta, and listened to a great podcast series. It's an English guy called Tom Holland, not the actor. Oh. He's a historian.
Different Tom Holland.
Different Tom Holland. And he's
I think Steve has mentioned him before.
He's wonderful, wonderful. And this is a he's not a believer yet. He's a historian, and he's written these books about the Roman Empire and and ancient Greece and things like this. And his new book Dominion is about how we're all swimming in this pool of Jesus, whether you want to or not. Right, the Western world. Yeah. Right, we were all in this, and he talks about things like charity. Right, well, charity is a Christian from Jesus thing. Yeah. Right. The ancient Romans could care less about the poor. Yeah. Right. The Greeks they couldn't care less about them. But now we're like, we have to, and it really gets into this whole
like hospitals and firefighters,
orphanages and schools, and it's all from from the
Christians wanting to help and to educate, right? And to support.
And so it's really interesting watching that happen, and watching kind of what's going on, the craziness that's going on in the world right now, and in the UK, in England. We've seen a huge decline in church attendance. I mean, it's just fallen through the floor the last 20 years, right? And now we're seeing an uptick. And people are just like slowly, and this is happening around the world. People, it's this uptick of people going, there's got to be more than this, right?
There's a lot of that too with like Gen Z. I've seen a lot of people talking about how there's like, some of them are starting to be like, okay, something's missing. Something's not right in my culture here, that this... and so they're starting to search that, which it hasn't really been a thing for that generation yet. So
right, and it's where programs like 321 and Alpha come in. Right? Alpha's. I know you guys are running it. We're running it too here in the next couple of weeks. It's great, right? Because it really is. We ran Youth Alpha a number of years ago, which is equally wonderful. Oh, yeah. But it's a really great way to just get, and we're seeing. I mean, we put it up and advertised, and bang, it was filled. It was like. Okay, awesome. Like with who's filled? Like people from our church? No, there's like people are looking.
As someone who's does video production stuff all the time, Alpha is the highest of quality that I've seen.
Yeah, it's very
wonderful.
Well done.
It is, because there's some that I watch that I have a hard time focusing, because I'm like, that's distracting.
You're watching the technical. Yes,
I'm watching, and and maybe some people aren't really noticing it, but something feels wrong. Maybe but it's Alpha is so well done and so well scripted, so well presented, and condensed into it's top tier.
It really is, and Nicky Gumbel who came up with it, and in the UK, right? This whole movement is beginning in the UK and in England, and it's kind of bubbling up under this, and so it's really cool to see. But I 100% agree with Gen Z, and I just I watch them. My son is Gen Z. I watch them grow up, and I'm like, they've grown up in a world where it's all been messed up. Everything, their identity, this whole mess of. And they're finally coming. I see them. They're coming to this point of just going.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, we're done with this, right? Yeah. And they're starting to push back.
Yes, they are.
And I see them pushing back, and I laugh and I love and I smile about it, because I look at who their parents are. And their parents are Gen X, my generation, right? The forgotten generation, the one no one talks about. Yeah. And you see all the TikToks and everything about the boomers and the millennials and Gen Z, but no one ever mentions us. Yeah, good. Don't mention us.
Which one's Gen Alpha? Leave Gen Alpha too, right?
Gen Alpha is the one after Gen Z. So Gen Alpha is the ones in elementary and stuff. That's Gen Alpha. Okay. And no one mentions Gen X. They leave us alone, right? And but we raised Gen Z, right? And it's like, question. ask questions. Don't put up with stuff that people tell you. Don't just believe it. Like look into, because that's kind of, and so I'm watching them, and I said this for years. This generation's going to change. They have to change stuff, right? Because it's not going to come from us. We're still waiting for the older generation to get out the way. They are going to, and we are, right. And I laugh at something simple like the quiet quitting, or the work. I work what you pay me and stuff like this, and it's. I remember when I was in the corporate world not that long ago, I can't believe these kids just don't want to work. No, they want to work.
Yeah.
But they want to work only what you're paying them for. Don't call them at 8 o'clock at night. They're not answering the phone because you're not paying them, right? No. Because they were, again.
I did see a video recently about someone saying that they're not going to put up with any sort of toxic behavior in the work environment at all. And
they just quit, and they're like, I can't believe they're quitting their jobs. Well, I don't want to put up with that either. They just they're not putting up with it, right? Yeah. And I'm so proud of them for that, because it's like, good. They're not doing it in a toxic way, right? They're just like, no, I'm not doing that. You see videos of these managers contacting.
Yeah, I've seen those. The guy who's like, "Oh, I'm not doing that." Now see, first of all, my brain goes from when I was in that world was just like, my phone doesn't even go on. It's just quiet mode. I'm not answering. Yeah. It's the one guy who's on vacation in Mexico, and it's like, "Yeah, I need you to come do a shift tomorrow." And he's like, "I'm in Mexico. Yeah. I'm on holiday. I can't come." "No, I really need you to come. So get on a flight. There's a flight out tonight to come work at some minimum wage."
Like
he's
Tim
like,
Hortons.
You're like, "What are you talking about?" No. It's the expectation of that management, and
I used to work doing electrical, and I had a foreman on a job one time. We were working on Princess Auto, and I would show up because we started at 7 every day, and we have to fill out. I don't know if you ever had to do this. Maybe you do at Xerox, but we'd have to fill out like a safety card what we're going to do that day. The things we're going to be working on, and the steps we're going to take to be safe about it, and that takes about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to fill out. Mm-hmm. And so we start at 7. So I'm arriving, at 7 in the trailer. And he's like, "Hey, you need to be showing up earlier than that. Cause it takes time to fill that out. I want you ready on the tools at 7.
At 7. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so I was like, and I'd already been butting heads with this guy. I was like, you know what, whatever. I'll just show up 15 minutes earlier. And then one day I showed up early and started working on the card in the trailer. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like getting ready. He's like, "Well, no, that's work. You can wait till 7 to start doing that." And I'm like,
"Oh no."
I'm pretty sure he was just lonely.
Pick a lane. Yeah, right.
And wanted the guys to come hang out with him in the trailer or something. I don't understand. He was a quirky guy. But yeah, it was just like, oh my gosh.
But there is a lot of that. And I've seen that, and I've seen, in that where people are expected, well, yeah, you start at 8, but
Like there was one time I worked at London Drugs, and I did get crap for, I'd be like showing up to get ready for work at 8 when I was starting or something. They're like, "No, you should be like ready and heading to the floor at 8. I'm like, okay, that I can kind of see, but it's there's definitely some where it's getting twisted to.
Well, and I just had this, right? Like I worked out of my van. My van was my office. I would, and we had a boss, and he's like, "You will be at your first service call at 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. Okay. So nothing in medicine that opens at 8 o'clock. Nothing opens. Everything opens at 9. Yeah. Whatever. So, but what if that's out of town? Because I used to go 2 hours out of town. Right?
Wow.
And so you got to leave at 6 a.m.
And that was the expectation was, I'm like, that's just not going to happen.
You weren't paid then for 2 hours of driving?
I mean, we were salaried. Right. So it was just like, I'm just like, it's not going to happen. I'm just not doing that. Right. So, but then the deal was, I remember one time I butted heads him because I was in Brooks, which is an hour away, just over an hour away. And I'd left, and the next day he kind of called me. He's like, "Well, you didn't get to start work till like 8:30 this morning." I was like, "Well, no, it's not. I didn't start work. I didn't leave my house till like 5 to 8, but whatever." I said, "What?" I said, because our vehicles had trackers on them. I said, look at my vehicle tracker. What time did I get home last night? It was 6 o'clock because I was an hour and something out of town. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting paid for that, but you want me to, and that was kind of me like, I'm not doing it. So I said, that's fine. If you want me to be on site at 8, absolutely fine, but I will be home at 4:30. Mm-hmm. So if I'm 2 hours away in Oyen and it's 2:30 and the machine's in 12 pieces, okay, I'll be back tomorrow. And I'm like, well, you can't do that. Right. So it's the same situation, right? It's that mentality of, just let people do what they need to do. We're smart enough people to.
And there's some guys on jobs that will take advantage of, like, sorry, it's 12 o'clock and you're in the middle of doing something. It's like
lunchtime.
Can we just finish this for 5 minutes and then we can go do lunch?
Yeah.
Like, be reasonable.
Yeah.
So what's your advice then for this generation in the workplace?
Oh,
Or
well, I mean, honestly, right now I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's tough right now, even to find work, right? And my advice is simply find something you want to do, right? It took me a long time, but my joke was always I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I didn't, right? I joined the army at 18. I moved into just doing stuff so I could stay in Canada and work to support my family. I never really knew. Now I'm doing what I wanted to. Now I'm doing what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
But if younger you had been told you were going to do this,
God, I laughed at you. It's crazy.
You would have stayed in Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. Just crazy talk, right? Yeah. But and that's easier said than done. And that's not old guy going, just find something you love and do that, because you also have to pay bills,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, but really, like, life is, and this is going to sound again old guy talking. Life is so quick, right? And you'll turn around and go, what happened to the last X years? Gone. My son's almost 21. Which is nuts. I look at it, and so it really is important to legitimately find something that you enjoy. Are you going to find your dream job at 18, 19, 20? No, you're not. Or probably not. I'm not saying you're not, but just lean into that. Pray about it, lean into it, and just figure it out. And if you have to take some crappy jobs until then, like we've all done fast food. We've all done the jobs we don't want to do, right? To find something, but just don't quit and just keep going. And you will find something, right? That may or may not include going to university. That's not for everyone, and that's okay, right? Trades, there's other stuff that you can do. Don't fall into, especially if you're in high school, don't fall into the trap of they push college, university so hard. Right? And don't fall into the trap of I need to go to college, you go to university. You come out of college, university, and you've got a degree in whatever, and you've got this much debt. And it's like, what do I do now? And then the job you look at is paying you $50,000 a year. It's like, and that's the max you're going to make. You're like, well, I'm never going to pay my student loan off. So just relax, take your time, right? But just find something that you really love. Because if you love going to work, like I've always been so jealous of Julie, my wife. She loves her job. My wife owns a hair salon. She loves her job. She loves going to work. I mean, not every day, no, but my wife loves what she does. I've always been really envious.
And I think that's important too. Like you will never find a job where you're not going to have any issues. Oh,
absolutely.
The grass is always greener.
Yes.
I always thought, like when I was doing electrical, I'm like, like if I could just have a job where I just get to make videos. Well, there's still problems with that. Like, you're still going to have issues. The thing is that you actually care enough about what you do to fight through that. Because like there was days on the job site where I'm like, I do not care enough about electrical
couldn't care
to
less.
fight through this. Like, and so like you just need to find something that you care enough about, that you're passionate enough about, and that can look like many different things based on the skills and talents you have. And you're still gonna have problems. You're still gonna have to work through things, but you'll care enough about it to do that. For it to be worth it.
100%.
What if the thing I love is setting things on fire?
Is there a kid that was asking that? Or?
No,
okay, let's talk about this now.
This is the teenager in me.
Let's talk about this now, shall we?
Should we ask about embarrassing moments? How are we doing?
Yeah, we should probably wrap up here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you were to give, I guess we talked about work advice, but if you were to give a piece of advice to someone who is skeptical like you, or who is struggling with their faith, what would that advice be?
That's really tough because it's so individual. And there's no blanket statement I can give. Read your Bible. Well, okay, that didn't work. Yes, you should read your Bible. But my advice would be, in all honesty, is find people that you trust, who maybe love Jesus, right? That you trust and you love. Friend, coach, whatever, right? And kind of talk to them, go through it, But it's all experiential, right?
So like ask the questions.
Ask the questions. Something like Alpha is really invaluable for something like that. If you're skeptical, you're not sure, you're just kind of going, all right, I go to youth group because mom says I have to go to youth group.
And you guys are going to be running Alpha soon. We're running Alpha.
Alpha's running here. It's running. It's running at our church. It's running here at Hillcrest.
Yeah.
But we know there are kids in our youth group who are there literally because mom has brought them to youth group. They don't want to be at youth group, right? They're there maybe to hang out with their friends. And the games and stuff they're engaged in, and that's awesome. But as soon as you start talking about Jesus, they switch off, right? For me, it's how do I reach those kids? Yeah. I'm not going to sit there and, hey, listen, no, it's just, let me love you. Let me just talk to you. And you never know the impact you're going to have down the line, right? Something that they take in now, maybe they don't go.
And the relationships you build too, right?
It is about relationships you build and being around healthy people. Just be around healthy people. Be very conscious of the people you're around and the people you associate with and your friend group. That's really key. I've been very fortunate watching my son grow up in the friend group he had it's still his friends. They're healthy. They're not, they're nuts. It's all the football players. I mean, but they're not.
But they're good influence.
They're good. Yeah. They're good people. I look at his friends and go, you're a good young man. Like you're a good person, and I think, yes, that's really tough as a parent, especially when you want to see your kids in that. But if you are that kid and if you're that youth, just do a quick check of are your friends really, do they have
your friends care about you?
Do they have your interests at heart? Are they around you just because, or do they really care about you? Like if something was to happen to you, are they showing up? Yeah. Right? Are they calling you? Are they going out of their way to help you? Because trust me, when I lost my friends, you really find out who your friends are, right? And it's hard. It's so tough. Like, losing all of my friend group was really tough. I say all, pretty much all, maybe one or two that I still have some communication with, but it's tough. Yeah. And you really find out who your friends are when the chips are down and when you're in trouble and when you're struggling and when stuff's going on and you need a friend. That's when you find out who your friends are. And unfortunately, sometimes that's a sobering thought because it's like, I really need that person who I thought is just nowhere,
I think that's where it's part of our job to take it very seriously, that when someone joins our group for whatever reason, that we take time to get to know them and build relationship, because
100%.
Some people legitimately have lost their family and their friends because they've decided to follow Jesus, right? And
it's real. And Jesus tells us that. Yeah, he's pretty clean about it. You're going to be mocked and ridiculed and persecuted for me. And it's I tell a congregation, everyone I know, Jesus you can't be half in, half out with Jesus. There's no, I like this bit, but I don't like. That's
like Julie's choice of if it comes down to my husband or you, God, I pick you.
Absolutely. Right. And that's exactly it. You need to be all in. Yeah. And Jesus demands that. And he asks you that in a loving way. Yeah. But he's like, if you're going to follow me, and the old Christian, pick up that old Christian, but if you're going to follow me, and follow my teachings and do what I tell you, because essentially it boils down to two things, right? Jesus says two things: love God, love people. That's it. Everything else is man-made stuff that you could, but if you love God first and then you love people like you love God, everything would be, it's not going to be easy, but everything kind of falls into place. So, there's no halfway with Jesus. No, there's no halfway. You can't be kind of lukewarm. Oh yeah, I know Jesus and I love him, and but he's asking me if I really don't want to give this up, and I don't want to have to. I still like to do this. It's an all-in relationship and like you said, it's a relationship. And it's one of those my relationship with Jesus. No, it is a relationship. Yeah. It is an absolute relationship. So if your friend group is not giving you that, he will, right? And if you don't know how, then you ask people how do I get that? And it's really, I tell my youth all that it's really simple. You just talk to him and then listen. Talk to him and listening, right? Yeah. My small group, we're doing a study right now by Robert Morris about the tongue, about listening, about, not just responding, and how the tongue can speak life and death. And it's a really great study, but I said that to the youth. I'm like, you just got to just listen. And just hear what he says, because he'll tell you, but you got to be quiet enough to listen. So, which I have a problem with sometimes, being quiet.
Simon, thank you so much for sharing.
He's not telling us an embarrassing story. I know we want to. I know the time.
Oh no! Wow, there we go. What a shame,
guys.
Yeah, we've gone on quite a bit. But no, I really appreciate you sharing your story. That was my first time really hearing about your past too. So that's awesome to hear. And hopefully can encourage others. Yeah. If any of you guys live down near River Valley Community Church in the Flats there, be sure to check out their youth group. You guys meet Friday nights.
Friday nights at 7.
Free rock climbing wall inside the
sanctuary. Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's the same.
Insurance is going to love that.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's always food.
Yeah.
Yes, there's always food.
We always have food.
Simon, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.